Well, hi there. You know, just because the challenge is over doesn't mean I'm not going to be checking in once in a while, seeing how you guys are doing, and letting you know how I'm doing. It's January 4th, and I have not missed any days and still going strong, getting the volume back up, increasing my run distance, and yeah, now it's the time where we start to train for those races in 2020. So the next big thing on the radar is the Big Lake Half Marathon, and I'd really like to PR that. So that's what we do in the wintertime. We spend some time out in the cold on the treadmill, treading away the miles and making it happen. So I wanted to check in on this, this. This is the New Balance AC 1400. I mentioned this shoe before the end of the year. I got it at Runner's Alley, and it's very flat, not very contoured on the bottom, not very much arch support, very flat midsole, not much rise, not much cushioning. But there are three things about this shoe that I'm loving. And now that I put some miles on it, I wanted to make sure I loved them, and I do. And I think that I would definitely buy this shoe again. I would also just say that I would go along with a recommendation from a running place, because they know what they're talking about. They're going to hear what kind of running you do, what kind of shoes you like, what kind of tempo you run, what sort of cushion you need, how your feet hit the ground, stuff like that. And it's not an in-depth study of your running gait or anything like that, but it's enough that they're going to be able to put you into a shoe that you might not otherwise have chosen. And me, I'm bad about the brands. So there are certain brands that I buy and certain brands that I don't buy. And I would not have bought this shoe because I'm not a fan of New Balance. I've had New Balance shoes. I've run in them once or twice. Not enough to really give them the time they need to prove themselves, but definitely enough time for me to decide that there are other shoe options out there that might be better for me. So, at that point, I had switched over to Asics after trying out New Balance. I came back to New Balance. I switched over to K-Swiss. I tried New Balance again. Actually, I've tried New Balance 3 times, and I switched over to Altra, and then from there to Saucony. I had some Brooks mixed in there too. So a lot of shoes. I've worn a lot of different shoes. Nikes, Adidas, all sorts of different shoes. But there are 3 things about this one that are awesome. First of all, this upper is like a sock. This is crazy cool, and I'm really hoping it lasts because I'm starting to get a pretty, I don't know if you can see, yeah, there we go. I'm starting to get a pretty significant crease on the side, so I'm really hoping that it doesn't pop out here or here like my Sauconys did, or here where it's kind of exposing itself. But here's the thing about this shoe that I like. Yeah, I like the upper. The upper's comfortable, but here's the thing. This is not printed on top. This is actually sewn in. This design stuff here is actually sewn into the upper. So it's not just a decal or a piece of rubber that sits on top that's going to end up flapping loose. This is reinforcement in the cloth itself. And you can't really see it as much. Yeah, I can't quite capture it on camera when I put my hand inside. But these black spots are a little bit lighter material-wise than these other spots. So these other spots land right on the areas where it creases. And that's potentially deliberate, I think, because if you look at the way that it's printed, it's got a lot of additional flex in there. Then it kind of, minimizes out here. Same thing on the other side. There's a lot of flex there. It kind of minimizes out on both sides for weight reduction or for flexibility. But this is awesome. So that's thing number 1. They've got this reinforcement in exactly the right place, and it's not just printed on. It's in the fabric, which is super cool. Number 2, the heel cup. Okay, this is always a source of contention for me because a lot of manufacturers have done this. Okay, if you look at the way your Achilles is, when you design a shoe, it's nice to have a cutout here so that your Achilles has a place to go when your heel comes up. So when your foot goes down, your Achilles goes into that little indent, and it helps to not rub on the back of the shoe. And then Brooks and Saucony, the last 2 No, Altra didn't do it. So it's Brooks and Saucony. The last two manufacturers I used across about 5 or 6 pairs of shoes started doing this shit where they add it up on top, and this is like not flexible. It's reinforced inside, so it's actually a continuation of the heel cup, and it's actually hard and it doesn't flex. This is covered in neoprene, which is nice. But as soon as I see this on a shoe, I'm like, damn, why did they do that? Why didn't they just cut it out like they could, you know, and save material, not much material, but save that heartache of having a good shoe that ends up rubbing on your Achilles. I've put miles on this. I'm probably up to only about 30 or 40 miles right now, and I'll get, you know, a lot of miles out of this shoe. I'll get 400 or 500 because that's how I roll with shoes. As long as they don't self-destruct like those Sauconys did. But this is super comfortable, and it's nice and grippy. You know, it's good fabric. It doesn't wear on me or anything like that. So time will tell on that. But I'm liking that. You know, even though it's got that raised nastiness there, it's still comfortable here, which is the important part, which is where your foot and the bottom of your leg are making contact with this shoe. So that's thing number 2. And thing number 3, I got to tell you, this is genius, and I've never seen this on a shoe before, and props to New Balance for doing this. This little thing right here, you know what this is? It's that little flap where your laces go under, and it puts the tongue where it's supposed to be. This damn thing, if you look at a shoe from the top down, this damn thing is usually down here, way down at the bottom, and it doesn't do anything down there. All it does is move a little bit left to right, which canters the top of the tongue way over on the side for me. So this is the way that my tongue on my shoe usually ends up being. This is the way it's supposed to be, nice and flat. My shit will be like this. It will be way over on the side to the point where my sock is actually exposed on the inside of my foot. Now, I don't have a high arch. I have a really low arch, so you would think that that would help keep the tongue in the middle, but it doesn't. It moves it way the hell over here. And then I get this nasty little gap here. The tongue's way down on the side. It's wearing, it's flapping up weird. This tongue is made of the same material as the upper, so it doesn't have like reinforcement and padding and stuff like that. It's not padded at all. It's like unpadded, which for me is perfect. A lot of people like that padding because when you tighten your laces down, it helps to keep the top of your foot from being, you know, squeezed too bad by those hard laces and that hard tongue. I like this. Super big fan of this, but I like this. This being up here, because when I lock this down, when I lace this in, it laces nice and tight. It doesn't lace with a big gap. Sometimes when you tighten your shoe, you still get like that. You know, you still get a big gap between the sides of the shoe that the laces are keeping together. This one, when I lock it down, it's coming in like this. So that thing, that little loop that holds the laces together, that thing squeezed right in between these two parts of the upper, and it has this nice little indent here. So it's almost like it's serrated. So it's got little pieces where it comes in, then goes out, and comes in, and goes out. So the little loop thing hits right in the middle of where it's coming together, and it's most narrow at the top of the shoe, as close as it can get to the top without being at the top. Does that make sense? And this tongue is all nice and flexible at the top. It's got, you know, it's some sort of a, I don't even know what the hell it is. It almost feels like felt. You know, it's just got that nice soft feel. It's not neoprene. It's not stretchy, but it's definitely, you know, it feels like, I don't know what it is, but this is the best part of this shoe, because this tongue stays where it's supposed to stay. It tracks nice. It doesn't move around on me. The laces stay tight. The design of the upper is such that it comes together nice, and you know, it's laced together, so you get good tension and good hold on your laces. So in all, I've rambled on for almost 10 minutes about how kick-ass this shoe is. I say all of that to say this. Don't make a judgment on a shoe based on a manufacturer. Don't discount a manufacturer because you haven't liked them before, because they constantly engage in research and development and refinement. And if they're good companies, they listen to what runners say, and they make changes based on the feedback they get from runners on where the screw-ups were with the prior models. So the next models that come out, in a lot of cases, they're better. Sometimes they're not. Altra is a company that has made a lot of changes to their shoes based on a let's try this sort of approach. You know, so what they've done is they've looked at their shoes, They've looked at things that people like, people don't like. They've looked at feedback. They've looked at wear patterns and things like that. But they've also just made some changes based on why don't we do this? Why don't we see what this does? And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't work. But then they listen. And in subsequent models, they'll actually go back to pre-designed standards. So the Lone Peak 1.5 was great. The 2.5 was great. The 3, not so great. 3.5, they kicked it back to where it needed to be. And the 3.5 is a good shoe. That was actually the shoe that I was going to buy, and then the lady showed me these New Balance, and I was like, yeah, but they're New Balance. And she's like, yeah, I know, but try them, because I think these will be good shoes for you. And damn, these are good shoes for me. So they might be good shoes for you, or they might not. Go to a running store, talk to them. They will give you recommendations for a shoe that they think is good for you. And this shoe might not be good for you, but that's the nice thing about running stores. They listen, they make recommendations based on their expertise in selecting shoes and the feedback that they receive from runners. So I'm going to go down to Runner's Alley when I can and make sure that they know that they did a great job with directing me towards this shoe based on the type of running I do and the type of runner I am. So do yourself a favor this year. It's January 4th. It's the beginning of the year. You're going to be putting a lot of miles on your shoes if you're a runner, because we're right at the beginning of the year. Go to a running store and just get an opinion. Get an opinion on what they think you should wear, because it might be life-changing for you. I haven't worn these shoes enough to know if they're truly going to be life-changing for me, but they're shoes that make me want to run. And if you have shoes that suck and shoes that are uncomfortable and shoes that you don't like, you're not going to want to run. So that's a nice thing about shoes that are good for you. They're going to help keep you motivated. So stay motivated, keep an eye on your equipment, change it out when it needs to be changed out, and when you need to change it out, listen to people. Go and talk to people who know what they're talking about, and they're going to help you out. So happy January 4th. Happy New Year, folks.